Hi, JMAXICUS here with a TLDR video preparing you for a re-entrance into the nexus of the multiverse, Dominaria. This video will focus more on the history of Dominaria as a whole, while later videos will dive deeper into the lore of the characters from this plane, such as Urza, Yawgmoth, Karn, Teferi, etc. Now, to begin to understand the history of Dominaria, I will be introducing a timeline and including it into my videos from here on out to give you a general understanding of where most things take place in time. I will include on this timeline what I believe to be the most significant events of the vast history of the multiverse. The way that most dates were recorded was using the Argivian reckoning, which we can call AR for short. AR sets year 0 as the year in which Urza, one of the most powerful planeswalkers in history, and his brother Mishra were born. Everything before this time we can call minus AR. For instance, approximately minus 20,000 AR is when the Elder Dragon War was. This will be what we use as the beginning point of our history, since not much is known before, at least not clear enough. The end of the timeline will be whatever set is being told at the time. So in this video, that would be the end of the Rivals of Ixalan, when Jace planeswalks to Dominaria. So one of the first critical events takes place around minus 5,000 AR, and that is the fall of the Thrawn Empire. Think of the Thrawn Empire as a super advanced ancient civilization. They had a number of uber powerful artifacts and had 8 city-states. Think of it like Kaladesh on steroids. So during Thrawn's recorded history, a dude named Yawgmoth was born who became an eugenicist. Basically someone who specialized in the improvement in the type of offspring produced. Yawgmoth is a bad dude and did a bunch of evil things for the benefit of his own understanding, especially when it came to understanding the human body. When he was exiled, an important figure named Glacian was stabbed by a guy named Gix, which gave him the disease Tysis. Basically a disease from Power Stone radiation that made you a very contagious person with extreme tuberculosis that would make you eventually die. So Glacian's wife named Rebek brought Yawgmoth from exile to cure her husband and the people suffering from Tysis. Yawgmoth was able to gain more and more power by helping the Thrawn while also helping his own secret agenda. While Yawgmoth was causing civil unrest and war, he also had a planeswalker named Dyfed, who helped him find a plane in which he could make his own and conduct experiments. Dyfed found this place, and it was called Phyrexia, a completely artificial plane whose creator and ruler had recently died, and that's all we know about him at the time. Yawgmoth was able to have Dyfed create a planar portal which would connect Dominaria to Phyrexia. This portal was in the place called the Caves of Koilos, where the people with Tysis resided. This portal was created by a Power Stone and could only be closed by placing the 2 halves of the Power Stones into a pedestal at the entrance of the portal. This Power Stone ultimately kills Glacian, who in some fantastical way has his essence go into the stones and tells Rebek to close the portal, which she does, shutting out Yawgmoth and Phyrexia from Dominaria. But the damage was already done, and the Thrawn Empire was devastated to a point of never recovering. Fast forward 5,000 years to the year 20 AR. This is where the brothers Urza and Mishra discover the Caves of Koilos, with an elderly archaeologist who they were apprenticed under, Tokasia. They each take half of the Power Stones, one being called the Might Stone and the other the Weak Stone, and they fight over wanting the other half. As they fought, they used both of their new stones, which caused an explosion that killed the intervening Tokasia. Unbeknownst to the brothers, they had just opened up the portal to Phyrexia again. Now, about 7 to 8 years later, the conflict between the 2 brothers escalates and the brothers' war begins. This war rages on for a whopping 35 plus years to 64 AR, where it comes to the ultimate climax, and Urza uses a bull-like artifact called the Silex on his Phyrexian altered brother Mishra, and both are obliterated with their entire armies. The Silex Blast destroyed Argoth, turned Urborg into a swamp, messed up the tectonic plates where Argoth was, and sent Dominaria into an ice age later. This blast, killing Urza, actually had his spark ignite and made him into a planeswalker. The blast also started to form the Shard of the 12 Worlds, which basically put Dominaria in a bubble with 12 other worlds, and those were the only ones that could be planeswalked to, Phyrexia not being one of them, so it was shut out during this entire time. If you remember previously, that the Silex Blast was cause for the Yavimaya Rift later. The Ice Age begins around 450 AR and lasts for a couple thousand years until 2934 AR. One of the most prominent people of this time was a powerful archmage named Joda. Joda will actually be appearing as a card in the next set, known as Joda Archmage Eternal. Joda is not a planeswalker and retained his youth thanks to bathing in a fountain kind of youth kind of thing. Joda had a special mirror that he ends up using a lot, and it saves a lot of people and himself. A planeswalker named Freyalize used the mirror with an artifact called the Ice Cauldron to cast the World Spell. The World Spell ended the Ice Age, destroyed the Shard of the 12 Worlds, and started the Flood Ages. This mirror is used later by Joda to save himself when his throat is cut by a possessed Jaya Ballard, another figure we will see in the next set of Dominaria. After saving himself, he smashes the mirror into Jaya's face, helping free her from her possession and igniting her spark. Now Jaya takes off and we don't really see her anymore, and she's assumed dead at some point in time. This is, however, not the case as we see her at the end of the Rivals of Ixalan story. Now at 3600 AR for another event, this is where Tetsuo Umezawa slays Nicobolus. We then go further to 4204 AR, where the climax of the Phyrexia and Dominaria battle takes place. A whole lot of crap happens before this, but this is the meat and potatoes of what happens at the end. Now Urza has been gathering all these ancient artifacts. He designs this skyship called the Weatherlight. He creates Karn. And he's been building allies and planning for battle against Phyrexia and Yawgmoth for quite some time. He assembles the 9 Titans, which are 9 powerful planeswalkers that are working together to stop the Phyrexian invasion. Of these 9, only 2 went on to live after the invasion, Freyalize and Lord Windgrace. However, as you saw from my earlier video, they both sacrificed themselves to seal rifts, so none of these 9 are alive anymore. Lots of people and places get destroyed during the invasion, but Urza came up with a plan to set off soul bombs in Phyrexia and destroy it, and has the 9 Titans put them in place. One of the 9, named Tevesh Sat, betrays them and kills a couple of them, but Urza had planned for this. He knew that he would be betrayed, so he could justify using Tevesh as a power source for the soul bombs. Urza loses his resolve in Phyrexia and he awes over its creation and its workings. He no longer wants to destroy Phyrexia, but wants to save it and study it. So he defects over to Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth makes him battle his friend Gerard for position as Phyrexia's champion. Gerard is able to finally win over Urza and decapitates him. Hence the unstable planeswalker card, Urza, Academy Headmaster. Gerard then turns against Phyrexia and goes back to Dominaria with Urza's head. The remaining Titans activate the soul bombs and Phyrexia is almost completely destroyed. Yawgmoth is so pissed to the extent that he turns himself into this huge black death lotus cloud and begins to envelop Dominaria, killing everything the cloud touches. A couple of the 9 die to Yawgmoth right away. However, Urza isn't completely dead. His life continues on through his eyes, which in fact the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. He is able to talk to Gerard and tells him of how to defeat Yawgmoth by using the Legacy Weapon. The Legacy Weapon is basically all these artifacts that were put together with the purpose of destroying Yawgmoth. When Gerard put the Power Stones into Karn, he activated the Legacy, which released a wave of white mana, destroying the Phyrexians and Yawgmoth. As a result, Karn ascended as the first and only artificial planeswalker, and Dominaria was saved. Freyalize later erects the Martyr's Tomb, which is a monument with busts of Gerard and Urza at the top, serving as a reminder for all those that gave their lives to the fight against Phyrexia. We then reach the last of what we see of Dominaria at 4505, where the mending takes place. If you want to know more about the mending, be sure to watch my earlier TLDR video on it. We now get ready to embark on the world of Dominaria, which is so rich in history that an hour-long video would barely scratch the details of it. I will be posting videos after each new story comes out with a TLDR version in case you'd rather just get the gist of the story instead of reading it. I, for one, am very excited for the new stories to come out, as we have accomplished writers that will be giving us the story this time. So thanks for watching, and please hit that share button to get the word out there about this channel. Share it with your fellow Planeswalkers, your local gaming store, Reddit, the internet, and continue our TLDR version into the multiverse of Magic the Gathering. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you haven't yet already, with any questions about the lore, and I will be sure to address them. I'm JMAXICUS, and stay tuned for more TLDR.